I'm calling on my nickel. I haven't called on your nickel in a while.
But if you need to call on my nickel and you want to knock something out tonight, that's not a problem. So,
I didn't know there was any money on there.
well, you start talking and I'll go look while you're talking.
Okay.
Okay, it's all you, Mike. The recording's going.
Okay. Good evening. This is the 6th of July 2018. God bless you, my fellow patriots, followers of Christ, Chilcotin tribal members, and lovers of freedom. I just got some information today. It says tracking the Leopard, Meroz, whatever this is, but it says sovereign citizen Mike Parsons demonstrates how not to make a citizen's arrest. And I've gone through this thing, and the guy, first of all, he's breaking the law because he's copying copyrighted material. My website is copyrighted. It's there for people to read, but not to copy and to publish for any reason whatsoever. If he read the information in there, he would have known it. And he references an article from a newspaper out of Omaha, and at the very end of that newspaper article, it says copyright information. It says all rights reserved, publishing, rebroadcasting, rewriting, redistributing prohibited. So the guy has broken 2 federal laws already just by publishing this stuff. Now, on page 2 of this article, he's first talking about someone else, but then he talks about this me being an Associate Chief Justice of the Chilcotin Nation, but he misspells Chilcotin. Sir, ma'am, whoever you are, it's spelled T-S-I-L-H-Q-O-T-I-N. And the country of Chilcotin is spelled C-H-I-L-C-O-T-I-N. And if you look up the Tusi Indian Nation, you'll find out since the 1800s, the country of the Chilcotin has been recognized as sovereign Native American land. This is not some manufactured country. It's been there all along. Just because you don't know about it, my gosh, the world doesn't evolve around you and what limited knowledge you have. You might want to step out of your boat and maybe travel a little bit or meet other people that do travel. It references in here that I had elbow counsel at the trial in 2009. No, I did not. I did not have. Oh, there was a lawyer sitting there, but this was a lawyer I had a federal lawsuit against, and I assure you, she never said a word. Now, you talk about that my wolves had escaped through a fence. No, someone had gone onto our property and had opened the gate. And then you said they were running over to the neighbor's property. No, you're wrong again. They never got onto our neighbor's property, and you're referencing Barry Laxton. He lives a half mile down the road. The only time that Brandy went on to the next door neighbor's property was when Barry Laxton from across the street, as he told the Chief Deputy Donna Turner, and if you go to Covington Leader, and
you have 1 minute remaining.
Hey, Mike, let me interject real quick. I got $58 on Global
Tel. You have 60 seconds remaining.
I got $58 if you need to use it. You can use it if you want.
Okay, well, I will call back in just a moment.
Okay.
But at the Covington Leader, in the article, Barry Laxton is quoted as saying, I shot at the wolves in the uninhabited wooded area across the street. Folks, that's the front of my property. That's my 80-acre farm. He's shooting at my wife and my dog on my property from across the street. Then he proceeds, after he scared Brandy over to my neighbor's property, the next-door neighbor, not Laxton. Laxton was way down the road. He crosses the street to get a better shot, as he testified. This is an unprovoked attack. My dogs didn't escape. Someone went on there and let them out. And then he says he fired into the air to scare them away. He's approaching them. He's pursuing them. If he wasn't there, he wouldn't have to be shooting. They were nowhere near him. And it goes on. But the fact is that...
Thank you for using GTL. Hello, this is a prepaid call from...
It's me for just a minute. I've been moved to Omaha.
An inmate at the Douglas County Jail. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, hang up. Your current balance is $58.22. This call is from a corrections facility and is subject to monitoring, recording, and the location of your phone will be obtained. For more information about our privacy policy, please visit www. After the beep, press 5 to accept this call. This call is from a corrections facility and is subject to monitoring, recording, and the location of your phone will be obtained. Stay on the line to accept this call. Thank you for using GTL.
I don't consent to recording of my call, except my friend Rudy, who can call and record it and post it and do it as he please. No one else.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, brother. Hey, one other thing I wanted to share is I got my own UPS store. It's different than Tammy, right? So as part of my prison ministry, and I've asked them to mail you a bunch of stuff. One of which is color photos of memes. Are you familiar with what a meme is? M-E-M-E?
No.
Okay, a meme is where you take a picture of someone and you put like a really mocking statement over the picture to kind of try to mock and make fun of this person. This is what this traitor has done to you and to Sue Holland, and I can't remember if your wife was in there or not, but you're going to get color photos because I want you to be fully aware of the depths of evil this SOB is doing out here. I know it's going to make you mad, but just control your temper and just realize you're dealing with an absolute devil when we're dealing with this individual.
Thank you. For those of you that don't know, I have a farm. My wife and I are educated. We're both engineers. We both work and have earned everything that we've gotten, worked our way through college. But we don't watch a lot of TV. We don't have smartphones. There's a lot of things that we don't do. We haven't been on a vacation in 20 years. We work and take care of our animals, and that's our life. And we leave our neighbors alone. We provide for our families, and that's basically what we do. Let me back up again. First of all, Langston shot at our wolves and Pat from across the street. He then crossed the street as he testified to get a better shot. Anybody that can get access to the Covington Leaders website or contact them, they posted a statement from Langston where he was interviewed by the Chief Deputy Donna Turner, who I had sued, who was a former FBI agent and a flaming homosexual. And in that article that Donna Turner published, she quoted him as saying that he shot into the uninhabited wooded area across the street. And then he crossed the street to get a better shot, as he testified. He scared Brandy off of our property onto the next door neighbor's property. Laxton lives down the street. He had no reason to be shooting at our dogs, had no reason to cross the street to get a better shot. But this article tries to imply that he was being pursued or somehow our wolves were on his property. They were not. That is an insinuation that is false. But if you can contact the Covington Leader and you can get this, please give it to Rudy. Please send me a copy of it because I don't have access to that, and I would love to have that to show because I know they're going to try to use it against me. I know that. Because he admits that he shot into the uninhabited wooded area without provocation, no reason whatsoever. All right? And the word accost, he uses the word accost in this 2 or 3 times. The word accost, think about it. What do you think that means? It's not what most of you think. It means to approach. Nothing more, nothing less. If someone walks up to you, they have effectively, by definition, in the legal dictionary, they have accosted you by approaching you. That's not a crime. Most people think it means that you've been assaulted. No. It means you've just been approached. He failed to disclose on page 3, when he starts his little dissertation, when it says defendant accosted Laxton and King, he fails to disclose that at the trial, they testified that they shot 29 times. And this guy, King, that he claims to be some innocent bystander, that's a load of hooey. King is the one that's instructing Laxton to shoot. He's telling him to shoot.
Hey, Mike. For me, who's not familiar with like what was the real motivation for them doing? Because you ran for public office and they wanted to try to intimidate you. Is that what those 2 guys were doing, or?
Laxton was a friend. Laxton's sister-in-law works at the court clerk. Okay, so that's why my stuff doesn't get filed. Laxton is a close personal friend of the county executive that I ran against that I'm suing over a rigged election. I was exposing how they rigged an election, and that's why he doesn't like me. And I'm sure he was put up to shooting at us and probably told nothing will happen to you. They didn't charge him with this unprovoked assault.
Wow.
Oh, and
okay.
The fact is, I never shot at him, and I never pointed my gun at him. That is false. Oh, and where they claim that that I had a gun 6 inches from their head. That is a lie that the judge put into the record in order to send me to prison. The fact is, the audio recording that he's quoting, he fails to report that I repeatedly said, stay back, don't come any closer. Does that sound like somebody who's trying to get up on somebody?
Yeah, no. That's true. I remember hearing that. Yeah, I remember hearing that, Mike.
And the first thing he says is, at the beginning, the defendant demands. He's wanting to demonize me by calling me defendant. Okay, I'm an innocent man. I'm not a defendant. I'm a guy fighting for his life because this is a backwoods mafia that's got contacts in the FBI, and that the corrupted Department of Justice and FBI are just as rogue as they can be. It's not our country. It's been hijacked. But he says, where are my other dogs? I didn't say that. I said, drop your guns. Turn around. Where are your guns? Where are you? I mean, I've memorized what I said because I've had to repeat it so many times. I'm telling this guy to drop his guns and to stay back repeatedly. That seems to have gotten lost in his banter. Then we'll go over to page 4, and I'm sure if you haven't already, you can post this. And it says that under this, at the very top first paragraph in the general sessions, he has heard. Well, then the problem is I was not allowed to be heard. I was denied the right to cross-examine the state's only witness that testified. I wasn't even there when they found my wife's guns. The house was locked up, and it was only her and the investigator and the parole officer that was in the house. I'm not even there. I was denied the right to cross-examine, present witnesses, and to testify. That's denial of due process all day long. Anybody that has any knowledge of this, legal system that they're functioning under should understand that. Now it says on January the 11th in paragraph 2, 2017, while in possession of a Rock River arm, and ammunition. Okay. I didn't have any rifle or ammunition. I'm arrested at an airport, sitting in an airport with a cup of coffee. The FBI and the sheriff searched that entire airport upside down. They said, let's toss this place. They took the ceiling tiles out of the friggin' ceiling. They took the commode apart. They went through the hangar. Are we supposed to believe with 3 airplanes sitting in a hangar, one's got a heater hooked up to it. It's got luggage in it. The door's unlocked, wide open. Do you think they're not going to go on that plane? Do you really think that little piece of paper on the side that says property of the Chilcote Nation is going to stop them? Come on, get a grip. They went all through the plane. There was no gun and no ammunition in it. This was a plant. Okay, then it says, in the third paragraph, it says about an incident involving Mike Parsons and his friend Sue Holland. Sue is working for the Chilcote Nation just as I am. I consider her a friend. I've never met her. Never met her. And it says others who had concocted a plot to break Parsons out of jail. But then it goes on to talk about, further down in the next one, issued court orders demanding the release of Parsons. Well, a court order demanding my release is not a plot to break somebody out of jail. And if you didn't know it, folks, these concrete walls, you're not breaking anybody out of jail. But that's just, anybody who believes that they've never been to jail to realize just, it's a fortress. You're not getting out. Forget it. Unless they open the door, you're not getting out. Here again in this excerpt about the 4th paragraph, he misspells Chilcote intentionally, I'm confident.
Hey, Mike. I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you help me? Like, you're responding to an article. Did Trader write this article, or did some news rag write the article? What are you responding to?
Okay, this is what you sent me. It says tracking the Leopard, MEROZ. It's at trackingmeroz.wordpress.com.
Okay, I think somebody must have written an article about you, and it probably wasn't Trader, but I'll go ahead. I think I'll try to look that up while you're talking. Okay.
Right. You sent it to me. It's not Trader, it's somebody else, and he does a better job than Trader does. I'll say he's not evil like Trader, but he's just twisting things and leaving things out. He's no doubt a lawyer too. But he says a self-proclaimed body purporting to represent the country of Chilcote. Well, they're not self-proclaimed. They were created by an act of the Chilcote Nation's Constitution. These people were duly appointed by the hereditary Grand Chief and those Native Americans that are in charge. Just like me, these people were appointed. We didn't just appoint ourselves. Now, it references there were indictments were ordered and these arrest warrants were ordered, and then it references breaking out of jail and kidnapping. Well, if you're kidnapping, you don't have an arrest warrant and you don't have an indictment. When a lawful court order from an indictment, where there's been a affidavit of complaint sworn, that's how you get the affidavit of, the indictment and the arrest warrants. That's how that works. This is not a plot. If you search on the internet, Donald Rumsfeld wanted for international warrant, and Dick Cheney and George Bush, you'll find that there are countries that would love to arrest him. And yes, they contact people in this country and they put out bounties. It's like, okay, if you'll locate these people, take them into custody, and they do that. They have international warrants where people, if they find you, they can kidnap you. No, it's not kidnapping. Because remember, they're bounty hunters. Bounty hunters actually have a license to go arrest people with a lawful arrest warrant. That's what they do. Remember Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Right, absolutely. You know, I just found this article too. It says a Christian commentary on the curse of judges because they came not to help of the Lord against... This guy.
Please get closer to the phone. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm just saying that whoever wrote this, they don't even sign a name. It's like some sort of anonymous blog. I mean, it doesn't appear to be a very ethical blog if you're not going to put somebody's name to it. But anyway, I hope you can hear me.
Right. Well, I'm sure there's a way to find out and track it down to where its source is. But in the very last paragraph, it says the indictment alleges Reverka learned of the plot. He calls it a plot to take the sheriff of Furnace County, quote, into custody. Well, if you're taking him into custody, that's not a plot. Further down about the fifth sentence, it says that he supplied the home address of the sheriff to her. Well, I've gotten all the audio recordings that they claim they have in evidence. There's not a single audio recording of this guy Reverka giving Sue Holland the address of the sheriff. Unless they're not giving me all the discovery, and then, of course, that would be a crime, too. But, yeah, the DOJ does commit crimes. They don't give you all the evidence. But remember, just because they call it a plot doesn't mean it is a plot. It is lawful court process. And then it talks about omissions of material fact and continuing to provide assistance to those whom he believed were involved in the plot. Well, actually, no. When they came to him asking for help and the video that they had, he said, no, I only want to help with the plane, getting the plane back to the rightful owner so that nothing bad happens to the plane. He was only worried about a plane because he's the president of the airport authority. That's his job. And he'd already talked to the sheriff about the plane, and the sheriff said, we're not holding it. If they want to come get it, let them get it. So he did nothing wrong, but he was extorted. He was arrested and forced to plead guilty to get a plea deal, and he's supposed to be there on August the 6th to testify against me in some capacity. They're going to try to force him to get on the stand and lie. But I know he's a smart man, and I think he's an honest man. I think he's going to have a hard time lying because that's going to work against his soul and his spirit. And I don't see him as a liar. You'll find most pilots are honest people because what they do is very serious. You don't find too many pilots that are drunkards. They're usually sober people because the responsibility of what they've got. Because if you make a mistake, you don't get do-overs. You crash and people die. So it's a different breed of people that we're talking about. These are people that spend a lot of time, effort, and money to get the ability to fly. It's not cheap, and people don't do it lightly. All right, on the next page, page 5, the second paragraph, he's talking about he was previously incarcerated for 9 years, as well as
you have 1 minute remaining.
Sovereign citizens. He's talking about Kent Hovind. He's talking about the YouTube channel. We're not sovereign citizens. We're Americans. We're sovereign by a God-given right to be left alone. That's what people need to wrap their mind around. This is an FBI scam. And further down, it's got this photograph of me. And how does he get a release from the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office? He's got this information that came from the FBI. Where does he get that from? How does he get it? Further down it says King, again, was a completely innocent bystander. That's not true. King was ordering Laxon to shoot. Then it says, particularly troublesome where defendant held a gun 6 inches from their head. That was never said in trial. That's something that the judge said at the sentencing hearing in order to have a justification for sending me to prison, because if he said Mr. Parsons was 30 feet away after he'd been shot at 29 times.
Thank you for using GTL.
All right, we'll see if Mike calls back. I did find this tracking the Leopard Meroz. This lady is Jacquelyn Weaver. She claims to be a Christian. She claims to even be a King James Bible-believing Christian. I haven't even read the article. You would think that if a Christian is going to write an article about another Christian, they would have reached out and talked to Mike, or at least sent him a letter in prison, as opposed to believing whatever is written about Mike in the trial documents and or listening to Freighter Trader. So Jacquelyn, I don't know anything about you. I haven't even read your article. But I'm surprised that you didn't reach out to Mike directly. That's what the Bible instructs us to do before you're going to write an article about his life.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from...
It's me for just a minute. I've been moved to Omaha.
An inmate at the Douglas County Jail. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, hang up or... Your current balance is $54.26. This call is from a corrections facility and is subject to monitoring, recording, and the location of your phone will be obtained. For more information about our privacy policy, please visit www.connectnetwork.com. After the beep, press 5 to accept this call. This call is from a corrections facility and is subject to monitoring, recording, and the location of your phone will be obtained. Stay on the line to accept this call. Thank you for using GTL.
I don't consent to recording of my call, except my friend Rudy.
Hey, Mike. Hey, thank you, brother. Hey, real quick question for you. While we were disconnected, I looked up this Tracking the Leopard Meroz website. It appears to be written by a lady by the name of Jacquelyn Weaver. If I read the history and foundation of Tracking the Leopard Meroz, she even claims to be a Baptist and a King James Bible believer, and that all of her conscience and beliefs are founded in the King James Bible. I have not even read the article. I know that I mailed it to you, but I just don't have time to read every single thing that's written about every prisoner. My question to you, Mike, is are you surprised that a so-called self-professed Christian Bible-believing follower of Christ wrote this article about you without even contacting you, reaching out to you to listen to your side of the story? Do you think the article is even favorable? I can't comment on the article because I haven't even read it yet, but did you think it was fair for her to do this at all?
It's misguided. The thing is that people get caught up in these fad, like sovereign citizen movement is something that was created by the FBI, and as everyone wants to hold people accountable, okay. What you got is a rogue FBI operation, Department of Justice, and they are going after we the people and people of strong, devout faith like myself, my wife, and others who are doing it right because they want to destroy that which is good. I would say that she needs to go to my website, review the information, review the reasons for judgment, which was an evaluation. Before I ever became a tribal member of the Sovereign Chilcotin Nation, before I was ever asked to be their ambassador, they, through their court, a sovereign nation's international court, not a pop-up, whatever they call it, nation. A sovereign nation's been there for over 1,000 years, recognized by other nations. And I got a letter the other day from the United Nations to the hereditary Grand Chief from one of the justices there. We're recognized now. But here's the thing. They don't want you to know that. They want you to think that this is all some kind of psychobabble nut stuff because they've got to demonize me. They've got to make you look the other way because if you do, then you'll probably convict me of something that's I'm accused of exercising a Second Amendment right. You don't lose your rights. I'm a researcher. I'm a follower of Christ, and I'm all about the truth. I have been my whole life. And I walk the walk as well as talk the talk. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have tickets. I don't hurt people. I got rid of all my license because I'm walking in grace. I don't have to have a license to talk to any Amish man. They don't have birth certificates, marriage license. They don't end up in jail. Do they break the law? Man's law every day. But they can't be prosecuted because there's no money. It's all about money. ma'am, with all due respect, please go to MikeParsons.org, read Lawfully Yours, and if you can get the information from the Covington loser. Now, also, I want to mention this real quick, as I was saying, where he says, prior troubles with his neighbors due to previous escapes of his wolves, as well as his willingness to file questionable legal proceedings against persons he deemed to have wronged him in some way. What he's talking about, this judge and the DA, I had pending federal lawsuits against them, as well as the arresting officer and this Donna Turner, chief deputy. Okay, he's got a financial interest of sending me to prison. And the troubles with the neighbors, we reported a guy shot at my wife and shot at and killed our dog Shadow the night we moved to the property. I reported other men pointing guns at me and threatening me. I reported other times when somebody snuck on our property and let some of our wolf hybrids out and shot and killed them, and nothing's done about it. Equal access under the law is a constitutionally recognized right that if you're going to have law, it's got to be equal. They don't recognize that. It's a just us club. Therein lies the problem. There is the whole problem. It's a rigged game. Now, on page 6, the second paragraph, it's talking about, it says, ironically, Mr. Parsons' first words, I don't consent to recording my calls. This coming from a guy who had recorded his citizen's arrest, which with and guess what? If that audio recording was damaging, I'm brutally honest. I wanted that there because not only did it show that I was forensically, I was proven to be 30 feet away from the guy at the closest I ever got. That was presented in court, but they won't talk about that. I never got within feet of him, let alone inches. All of that is a lie, perpetrated to deprive me of my liberty. And you don't have access to that audio, but if you do, if you listen to it, and if you get access to the court records, then you'll see it. I'm in a jail. I don't have the ability to sit down and show it to you. Ma'am, I wish I did. I would love to be able to sit around and drink some iced tea on my front porch at my farmhouse that I've spent the last umpteen years building by myself, that some photographs are out there of, I think.
You're right. We got pictures of your house. That's an incredible house that you built yourself. And when I saw that house and your wife said that you built that, I'm like, oh my goodness. You don't mess around, Mike. That was a very impressive undertaking.
I designed it to withstand 160-mile-an-hour winds and a 7.8 earthquake.
Wow.
It's steel and concrete reinforced. It was hit by a tornado in 2007, as a matter of fact. And other than 7 broken windows, because I didn't have them latched, they were sucked out of the house. The front 12-foot wraparound, it's a 12-foot wide porch that goes all the way around the house. It wasn't hurt.
Yeah.
Because it's strapped every which way, and it's got 6.5-inch steel pipes bolted to concrete piers that go 8 feet down in the ground that are 2 foot in diameter.
Yeah.
You do the physics. If you're an engineer, do the physics, and you'll see the uplift it would take to pull that sucker up.
Yeah.
It's going nowhere. But that's how I do things. I do it right.
Yeah.
I don't take chances.
I know probably 4 people in my whole life that have built their own house, and you're one of them, and that's a very impressive thing. No doubt about it.
Also, the audio, they said in the changed complaint, he says, Parsons said, get on your knees. I could see the spiral of the barrel of the gun. Well, with the audio, you can hear I never said get on your knees. I said stay back many times. And at trial, I said, which direction were the spiral of the barrel of the gun going? He couldn't remember. I said, that's because you never saw him. And down at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs, where it starts off, that's what Satan is, the master of deception. He's quoting me from one of Rudy's. And then he misquotes where it says, on this stuff and all that he's doing is parodies, P-A-R-O-D-I, it's parroting, like a parrot. Parroting what he has been told. That's what I was saying this traitor guy was doing. On page 7, in the second paragraph, it says in the last sentence, and the photo of Mike Parsons was a courtesy of the Furness County Sheriff's Office. Well, okay, that explains where that photo came from. Guess what? I never authorized the taking of that photo. It's walking down the hall, and there again, I have on my website references. I copyright all of my images. They do not have the right to utilize that. And whoever wrote this article, ma'am, you need to take it down. if you want to contact me, I will. The photograph that you got of me wearing my suit, that's fine. That's a respectable photograph, and you did put it in there on one page, and that's good. But this other one is just, I just had left. I'm going to a meeting. I'm traveling, and I've got a farm, and when you're working on a farm, you don't shave every day, and sometimes you don't shave for months because you just don't have time. Well, further down on the very last paragraph on that page, it says, Mike Parsons refers to the arrest warrants from another country. By this, he means to justify, drop down, false credentials granted by the fabled Chilcote Nation. It's not a fable. It's a sovereign nation. It's not a corporation like the United States. Go to United States Code, Title 28, Section 3002. Number 15, it says, definitions, the United States is a federal corporation. My credentials are not false. They were issued to me by the hereditary Grand Chief, the top guy. He's a descendant from the 7 war chiefs that were assassinated in the 1800s. It says, of which he claims he has an ambassador, diplomatic immunity, and associate chief justice who can legally issue arrest warrants. Well, I didn't issue anything because I didn't know anything about it. I'm locked up in a jail, so I have nothing to do with anything that had to do with any indictments, any transcripts, affidavits, testimonies, arrest warrants, nothing. I had nothing to do with any of that. Didn't know what was going on. As a matter of fact, neither did Mrs. Parsons, other than this company contacting her saying, we need money to pay for the cost of transporting your husband up to the Chilcote Nation. We've got an order for his release.
Hey,
that's not a crime.
Hey, Mike, just curious, for Jacquelyn Weaver, who did write this article, would you think it would be fair, because I'm going to send her this audio of you replying to her article, would you think it'd be fair if I say something like, if you plan on doing any more writing about Mike Parsons, that I highly suggest you either write him a letter, and here's his address, or you have him call you, and I can tell you how to put money on the phone account? I mean, would you agree that would be a fair thing for me to tell her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I would ask for her to make a correction on this and to retract it.
Very good.
An apology.
Yeah. Okay.
Because this is disparaging, and there's no telling how many people read it and probably believe it that are right here in Omaha, where they're going to try to take me to trial in a month.
You know what's shocking? What's shocking to me is that she claims to be a King James Bible believing follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm like, we're having enough trouble dealing with the devils, and now we got to deal with our own. It just doesn't make any sense.
She needs to read the book of Luke 22, verse 35 and 36, when Christ said, I sent you out early on with that person's script. Did you need for anything? No, Master, nothing. Well, I tell you now, if you have one, take your person's script, meaning your money and your passport. And if you don't have one, sell your road and buy an AR-15. Well, he didn't say AR-15. He said the equivalent, which was the weapon of choice of the army at that time, which was the Roman army's sword.
Amen.
Yourself.
Do you know that I also heard it was illegal at the time for non-Romans to own a sword? So he was telling them to get something that was illegal.
Yes, I'm a student of history, including biblical history. I don't just read the Bible, I do research. I've got friends that are deep Hasidic Jews that know this stuff, and we do research back when I was in high school, and clearly the scriptures and other references that are not in that book of 66 books that reference that back then, if you were caught with a Roman sword, they could just put you to death right then. They didn't have to have a trial, they just kill you and leave you where you stand or where you fell. Now it says, when Parsons speaks of others as the masters of deception and ignores his own lies and false reasoning. Ma'am, I don't lie. And this is not false reasoning. This is logic and truth. And I would hope that you would avail yourself of some of this, because what you're putting is twisted. You're getting bits and pieces of this stuff right, but some of it you're getting wrong, and you need to clean it up, because it's called libel. It's a crime. You've already published things that are copywritten. That's a crime. And I want you, as a follower of Christ, to give you an opportunity to correct this. And I would ask that you retract all this false information, go through it as I've given you instructions to, redact it, retract it, correct it, and apologize, because what you did is misleading and false. Now, on page 9, at the very last paragraph, it says, the man was a fugitive from justice after having failed to appear. I was not a fugitive of justice. That's an alleged charge. And the fact is if you've done your research, and if you could get your trader buddy there to contact, well, he might not be your buddy, Hopefully he's not. Hopefully you have higher standards than that. But anyway, if he can get the audio recording from the Covington leader, publish it, my friend, because you will find that I asked all three of the state's witnesses, do you have an order for me to appear in court as required by the Tennessee Code? No, no, no. I looked at the jury. They don't have an order. You got to dismiss. No, they convicted me because that's what they're paid to do. But it says he was failing to appear for trial on the charges of being a felon in possession of a firearm in Tipton County. I'm not a felon. That charge has been overturned. The reality is that in an international court, they contact, be about 2 minutes, the international court contacted the state of Tennessee and Tipton County, said, we're reviewing this. If you object to this being overturned, if you want to respond, here's your opportunity. You got 90 days. They never responded. Therefore, it's legitimate. It's proper. Anybody that knows contract law knows the way the system operates in international law. Okay, on the very last page, page 10, again, it says self-proclaimed.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Self-proclaimed body purporting to represent the country of the Chill Code. It's not self-proclaimed. We were appointed by the hereditary chief system. And there's no breaking out of jail, and it was a arrest of a sheriff. See, they got in here right. An arrest warrant for the sheriff and judge, that's right. There was no plot. Taking him into custody, as it says in paragraph 2, that's right. Again, no plot. Third paragraph, while in possession of, there was no possession of anything. Irrespective of that, it's not a crime. And at the very end, look at the very last thing. It says, all rights reserved, republishing, rebroadcasting, rewriting of this article from this news broadcast from this place in Omaha, redistributing is prohibited. Man, you're committing a crime by publishing this without written consent. And I didn't give you consent to publish anything. And they didn't have my consent to put it in the first place, so they violated my rights and the law.
Thank you for using GTL.
All right, I think that's going to be the last phone call from Mike. I'm going to get this all put together. Every time he calls, it's like $5 for 15 minutes or close to it. And if my understanding is correct, she's got an email address. That's Jacquelyn113@hotmail.com. So we'll get this audio put together, send it to her, and ask her to contact Mike directly. I don't want to be the middleman here. So she's a grown girl. She was big enough to write an article about him, so she can be big enough to write to him directly or have Mike call her on the phone and they can talk it out. But if they're two followers of Christ, I don't think it's very Christian, to write an article about another Christian without talking to that person first. And so that's my opinion anyway. Especially since Mike didn't do anything to her, right? I mean, there's all kinds of situations that are going on in this particular endeavor. There's a lot of facets to this, but it's like, what motivated Jacquelyn to write this article? I mean, why would she even be motivated to do it in the first place? And if you are going to be motivated to write an article about someone and you claim to be a King James Bible believer, it just is puzzling to me why she wouldn't have reached out to Mike. Just weird. Okay, God bless. Take care.